Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. The support you guys have been giving to me it has really been amazing. So I really appreciate you guys. If you are new to my channel, you are highly and very welcome. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. Subscribe, hit on the red button, that red subscribe button, just hit on it. It actually takes nothing to do that, and then hit on the notification bell just beside to get an update whenever I upload a new video, so you'll be able to see it. So that's just the essence. Today I'm actually going to be showing you how to cut and sew a half cut blouse. Yeah, I call it a half cut blouse. It is a wrapper blouse. I'm just going to give a quick explanation of it. It is a wrapper blouse. It is a Bendel blouse. Those, the Urobos and the Igbos, the Rivers. It is a Bendel blouse. So this blouse, they use them for wrappers. It usually have a half cut. So some of them have half cut, some don't have. Usually have a half cut, and then you just see. So you could see the picture up there. So I don't really need to explain it. It is also called a traditional blouse. So that's just literally what I'm going to be showing you how to cut. It's really fast, simple and easy. So you use it for your wrapper. So let's just get started. So I have fabric here that I'm going to be making use of. This is 2 yards of fabric. So that's what I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to cut them out and then explain them to you. So guys, I finished cutting out my fabric. So I'm going to explain to you how much fabric you need when you are making this kind of blouse. So because you know the top part of the blouse is actually a half cut. It is having a half cut here. So I'm just going to explain it quickly. So I have my fabric folded out here. So in order for you to determine how much fabric you need to cut a blouse like this, the first thing you determine is you use to measure is your bust measurement. When you divide your bust measurement into 4, you add between 4 and 5 inches allowance. So for instance, if my bust is 40 inches, I'll divide it into 4. I'll have 10 inches, and then when I have 10 inches, I'll add 5 inches or 4 inches. So what I will now measure on fold is going to be like 15 inches. So it's going to be, if I'm adding 4 inches, it will be 14 inches. If I'm adding 5 inches, it will be 15 inches. So that's how much fabric I need, and it's going to be on fold. So you cut out 2 pieces, one for the front and then for the back. The back on, the only difference that is going to have is that the back, you are going to add between 1 or 1.5 inch allowance to the back piece, just because of the zipper allowance. So this is going to be our zipper line for the back piece. So because if you look at the picture of this blouse, it's actually an off-shoulder blouse. So I'm going to measure now to know the length that I'm going to use. So for off-shoulder blouses, if you actually don't want it to be too exposed, you drop it by 5 inches. So you use 5 inches as your shoulder measurement. So you use it to be the sleeve. That's what will be the drop. So this is like the 5 inches now that I'm going to use. And then the next thing you consider is your bust point. So your bust point, that's where the nipple is. For this, it is actually 10.5 inches. And then the next measurement that you're going to consider is your under bust measurement. And the under bust measurement is 13.5. So this is the 13.5 now for the under bust measurement. So and then the half cut of the blouse, that's the half cut where I want it to be, because if you look at it, it's not really directly under. So it has some ease down. So I'm going to just drop that point by 2 inches. So when I'm dropping, or 1.5, so I have 15 inches or 15.5 inches. So that's where the cut is going to be. So this is it. And then you add 1 inch allowance to it. So I'm just going to leave this down parts like this. So I'm just going to trim out so I don't get, so it's not confusing. So this is how you actually fold your fabric because of the 15 inches, because it's going to be an off shoulder. So the next thing we're going to do now, I'm going to start measuring out the bustier part of this blouse. So the first thing is for you to determine your bust span. Your bust span measurement is from one nipple to another. That's from one nipple to another. So this is your bust span measurement, and it's really needed in this kind of blouse. So for this, my bust span measurement is actually 4 is actually 8 inches. 8 inches. So when you divide 8 inches into 2, you have 4. So I'll add half inch to it as allowance. So I'm just going to use the 8 inches. I'll come to the bust line. This is the bust line. I'll use the 4.5, and then I'm just going to walk it down from up down. So I'll connect with my ruler. So this is it. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to be taking out the dart measurement. So the dart, I'll come to my shoulder line. I'm just going to take 1 inch to the right hand side like this, and then I'll take half inch to the left. So some people, they use one inch each, but me, I like using half inch on the left hand side. Then I'll come to the under bust, and this is the under bust measurement. This is the under bust line, then this is my waistline. So I'll come to the under bust line. I'm just going to measure 1 inch like this, and then I'll come to the other side. I'll measure 1 inch also. So I'm just going to connect this. So I'm just doing a freehand cut for you people on this blouse. So you see what I'm doing. So it's just going to come like this. So if you notice this kind of bustier, that is just big, like a ball, as in big ball. So if you notice from the picture, so I'm just going to come like this, and then from this point I'll measure 1 inch also. So I'm just going to maintain the 1 inch down. So you see what I have, and then I'm going to continue with this point. So I'm going to take this point also to this bust point. So this is our bust line, and then from this bust line is coming to the shoulder line. It's going this way also. And then we're going to use 1 inch again like this. So I'm going to cut it out now. So you could see what I have. So like I said initially, I said I'm using the freehand method to cut this blouse for you, because if you go to my channel, I have various and types of bustier patterns. So I really don't like making use of just sticking to one pattern and just be going. If you are not really good at different patterns, you could decide to just stick to one and use. But if you know how to do other patterns, so you could change it. But since I'm teaching, so it's better for me. It's not good for me to just stick to one pattern and be using it to be shooting all of my videos. So that is why I normally like changing. So if you come, you see the shoulder dart, you see the princess dart, you see the neck dart. So that is different patterns of bustiers on my channel. So for this neck dart on that I'm doing now, I'm going to be doing the freehand for you. So you notice that I cut it out without measuring the body and measurement. So I'm just going to do this now. I'm going to take this midpoint and I'm going to place it like this here. So this is another way, in case you don't know how to do this. I'm going to place it like this. So you see what I'm doing? I'm placing it at half an inch from the top and then half an inch from the down point. So I've placed it on top. So it's really simple and easy. I've placed it on top. I'm just using this to secure it down. The next thing, I'm going to take out the body measurement. So for this, the shoulder for this and dress is actually 14 inches. So I'm just going to measure. When you divide 14 into 2, you have 7 inches. So this is 7 inches now. And then we're going to add 1 inch allowance to it for seam. So this is the 1 inch. And then from this point, you remember we dropped, since it's an off shoulder, we actually dropped with 5 inches. So to put it into consideration, you're just going to take your tape like this and place it on the 5 point like this. And then now we're going to measure out our armhole. And we're going to be making use of 8 inches. So we have our 8 inches. If, for example, you come and measure it like this, you have already spoiled the fabric. So that's that. So always remember, if you are working with making off shoulder, so you put it like this and then you measure, you know that your 5 inches is already there. And then this is 8 inches. So you're just going to take it like this. And then I'm just going to slant it like this. So I'm slanting it like this. So the next thing, I'll come to the bust line. So this is our bust line. and then I'll measure. The bust measurement I'm using for this is actually 36 inches. So when you divide 36 into 4, you have 9 inches. So this is 9 inches. And then I'm going to add my allowance to it. I'm using 2 inches allowance. So this is 2 inches allowance. So I'm just going to take it like this, from this point like this. I'll bring it this way. So you notice what I'm doing. And then I'm going to come. The next thing I'll come to now is the under bust. The under bust measurement I'm using is 30 inches. When you divide 30 into 4, you have 7 inches. So this is 7 inches because we have already covered the dart line. So that is why we're not adding the dart allowance again. We have already covered it down. So that's just the essence of this pattern. So this is 7.5, and then I'll use my 2 inches allowance again that I used. So I'm just going to take it like this. And then for the waist and measurement is 32. So when you divide 32 into 4, you have 8 inches. So this is 8 inches. And then I'm just going to add the same and 2-inch allowance. So I'm just going to have this. So guys, this is how simple and easy it is for you to cut this kind of blouse using your free hand. So I'm just going to cut it out. So now I'm going to place the front piece on the back piece and cut it out. So like I said, this is just like a very simple and easy method for you to use in cutting out this kind of blouse. So I'm just going to take the front piece like this, and then I'm bringing this middle piece like this, and then I'll place it out. I'm going to place it like this. So you see it at ½ an inch from the top, and then ½ an inch. So you have to put that into consideration when doing this. ½ an inch on top and ½ an inch down. And then this is my zipper allowance. So I have my zipper allowance. So with this now I'm going to cut out the back body frame. So I'm not going to start measuring the back again afresh. So I'm just going to use it to cut it. So this is just like a very quick and fast method of doing this. So you see now I've cut out the back. I've cut out the back body. So I'm just going to put my notch here for the zipper part. So the next thing I'm going to cut now is the neckline. So in cutting out the neckline, I'm just going to measure this part. What I have 3 inches. So the neckline I'm going to be working with, the width is going to be 3 inches. So this is the front piece. That's what I'm working with. So this is 3 inches. So I've already marked out the 3 inches. You remember we are working with 5 inches. We dropped by 5 inches because it is an off shoulder. Because if you forget and you go and put your tape like this and measure your neckline, the neck will be too deep. So you are just going to place your tape like this, and then you measure out your 5 inches on top, and then you now determine how deep you want the neckline to be. So I'm going to use 7 inches for the neckline. So this is like the 7 inches now. So this is the width, and then this is the 3 inches that I measured. So from this point now, I'm just going to slant it like this because it is like a sweetheart neck. So I'm just going to slant it to this point like this. So you see what I'm doing. It is like a sweetheart neck, sweetheart neckline rather. So from this point now, so I've marked it out like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to come to this point. That's the armhole point. I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect from this point to this point like this. I'm having a curve here, so I'm just make like a small curve here, and then you bring it to the 1 inch point. So I hope you understand what I'm doing. So this, you're just going to back flip it like this to get that curve. You could use your pattern curve to do this, and then when you get to this point, this is your 3 inches point. From this point, you're just going to make like an arc here, and then you come down by 1 inch. Sorry for I'm just explaining so much because of beginners, please. So you guys should just bear. So I've marked it out. So the next thing now, we're going to measure out the back neckline. So for the back neckline, we're still using 5 inches. So this is the back neckline. And then we're going to drop it by 8. We'll use 8 inches. So the back should be a little bit deeper than the front. And then we'll come to this point and measure 3 inches. Remember, what we actually used for the width was 3 inches. So you still put that into consideration. Or if you don't want to do that, you could just take your chalk like this, and then you trace it from this point. You just bend and then mark like so, and then you curve it out. So this is for the back neckline, and then for the front neckline, this is the front neckline. So I'm going to cut out this, and then we'll cut this out. So I'm just going to cut it like this now. So you see what we have. And then I'll bring this one because I'm going to cut all of them together now. Okay guys, so this is the front piece. And then I open up the back piece. So for the back piece, I'm just going to do my regular waist dart for the back piece. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the regular waist dart. So that's what I'll do for the back piece. I'm just going to dart it regular dart. So the next thing you are going to do now, you are going to cut out the lining just like this, and then you sew and turn. You just sew and turn. So you sew like this. You sew from the neckline point and then turn the bustier. So you couple them together and then turn. So I'm just going to go and do that now on my machine. So when I come back, I'll come and show you. Okay guys, so I finished joining the front part of the blouse. So the next thing I'm going to do now, this part now I'm going to blend it to the armhole line, because I'm going to be, when I'm turning with my lining, I'm going to be turning the whole entire top part, even up to the armhole part. So I'm going to be turning everything with lining. So I'm going to be shaping this part. I'm going to be blending it with the armhole part, and then in doing that, so I'm just going to fold this one, and then I'll take the back piece, and then I'm going to place them like this together. So I'm going to place them like this together. So now I'm going to blend them together. So in blending them, what I'm just going to do now, I'm just going to come to this point. Remember, and at this point, then remember I initially from this armhole point I came down by 1 inch. So I'm just going to come down again by another 1 inch. You could decide to do it from the beginning. So what I'm going to do now at this point, I'm just going to blend. I'm going to blend it like this. So you can see what I have now. So this is just like the regular way of making this blouse. So you're just going to try and create a regular sleeve, is a regular slant rather, to this point. So from this point, and you connect it both on the back and the front, and then you just trim it out. So you see what I have now. So you see what I have now. So I've slanted out. So it's just like almost like a tube top, like a reglan. So that's just basically how this blouse was achieved. So at the end of the day now, I'll show you how to fix the sleeve. So I'm just going to go now. I'm going to turn it with my lining, and in turning with my lining, I'm going to be turning the whole entire top part with lining. So just like a tube top, you turn the entire part, but we're still going to be fixing the sleeve on it. So I'm just going to do that and then bring it back and show you. Okay guys, so this is on the back piece, and then this is the front. So the next thing, so I finished joining it. Like I said, this blouse, you actually so you see the reglan and pattern, or the tube and pattern of the top part. So you actually joined the whole top. So you couple the whole top together. So this is it. This is the back neckline, and then this is the shoulder that's going to the armhole side, just like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to take out the full body measurement of this top. So I'm just going to measure it out, and then I'll join it together, and then come back and cut the down parts of it for you. Okay, so in measuring it, I'm going to measure out the bust measurement, which is 9. That's 36. So I'll put my tape here like this and measure the 9 inches. So this is my 9 inches here. And then I'll measure the under bust, which is 37.5. When you divide into 4, 7.5. And then I'll measure out the waist measurement, which is 8 inches. So this is 8 inches. So I'm just going to mark it like this. So I'll do the same thing to the other side and then I'll join it. So this is how you measure. So I'm just going to go and couple it together. Okay guys, so I have the shape of my blouse out now. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm just going to measure out the length because I'm going to be cutting out the down part. And the half cut, that's the half length, what I have, what I'm using is actually 15 inches. So this is 15 inches. So I'm just going to add half an inch to it that I'm going to use to stitch. So I really don't want to draw on the fabric because of the chalk, so it comes off. So I'm just measuring it. So you remember your 5 inches because of the shoulder, and then you measure 15 and half. So I'm adding half inch to it. So I'll trim it out now. Okay, so guys, the top part is ready. So the next thing I'm going to cut out now is the down part. And in cutting out the down part, you have to put the up part into consideration. So we're going to measure on what we have here. So we actually have 15 inches here, and then the full length of the gown, of the blouse, sorry, is 25 inches. So when you minus 15 from the top, what we actually have left, we have 10 inches left. So we're going to be cutting out the down part. So the down part is actually cut like an A line. It's not a fat A, it's not a very full slanted A line. So you're going to see I'm going to fold the fabric. So we're going to be cutting out 11 inches because of stitching allowance for the top and then the down. So I'm just going to take my remaining fabric. I'll keep this one to the side. We're going to be using it also to reference it. So I finished folding my fabrics. So in order for you to determine how you are going to fold your fabric for the down part, you are going to use your hip and measurement to fold. So my hip is actually 40 inches. So I folded at 12 inches. So I added 2 inches allowance to it. So that's for ease. So that's how you fold. You use your hip measurement and then you add between 2 and 3 inches. And then you are going to take the top part. So this is the top part of the blouse. You are just going to come like this. So you are going to just make a line here. So that line will be like your startup line. So this is going to be like the seam allowance. And then you are going to place this one like this. So we're going to cut the front first before we cut the back. So the next measurement that we're going to measure out now, I'm going to measure out the full length of the blouse. So, and you remember we actually dropped by 5 inches. So you put that into consideration. You put that into consideration. So I'm going to measure out, this is my 25 inches. And then I'm going to add my 2 inches allowance to it. So this is how much, so this is the length of my blouse. So the next thing I'm going to measure out, and I'm going to determine the waist. So from my shoulder to the waist and measurement is actually 21 inches. So it's not 20 inches, 21 inches. So I'm going to be measuring this part, and then this part, this is the under bust line. So you can see how the top part is placed on it, and then the hip measurement. So I'm going to measure out the waist measurement now. That's the under bust measurement, which is 7.5. So I already have it here. So what I'm just going to do, I already have it here. What I'm just going to do, I'm going to add 1.5 inches allowance. I'm going to add 1.5 inches allowance that I'm going to use as seam. So I'm just going to make a slant like this. So the next thing I'm going to come to now, come to the waist and measurement. And the waist measurement is 32 inches. which is 8 inches, and then I'll add my 2 inches allowance. So you see what I'm doing, because this blouse is not really, it's not a straight, it's not a slanted, it's not like a flay blouse whatsoever. So I'm going to measure the hip measurement. Like I said initially, I said it's 40 inches, so this is the 40 inches. So I'm just going to add my allowance to it. So I'm just going to make a slant like this. So you could see how this blouse, it's not like it is an A-line whatsoever, and it is not straight. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come to this point, because it is a blouse. I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up by 1 inch or 1.5 inch like this. So I'm just going to slant it to this point like this. So I hope you understood what I did. So I'm going to cut out now. So guys, you can see what I have. So this is just like the shape of that blouse. So I will finish sewing so you can see how it is. So that 2 inch that I put, I'm going to take half an inch for my dart for this point, and then another half an inch for this point, and then I'll use the remaining 1 inch to connect it. So with this piece now, I'm going to cut out the back piece, but the back, I'm going to consider my zipper allowance. So I'm just going to make sure that my zipper allowance is added to the back piece. So I'm just going to fold it like this, and then I'll place it. And then I'll cut it out for the back piece. So I'm just going to make my notch here for my zipper allowance. And then for the dart, so I'm going to make the notch for the dart. So I'm using, so the easiest way for you to do this, you just measure this point, what you have, and then you place it on it, and then you cut out. So, and then you notch it. So that will make the dart to almost flow together straight. So I'm going to go down and connect this down part to the top, and then come back and cut the sleeves. Okay guys, so you could see the blouse now, so it's looking and so good. So you see the shape. So this was what I was talking about the dart. So you could see the dart is running from the top, that's from the top of the half cut down, and then the same thing for the back also. You see it's running straight. So that's that. So the next thing we're going to do now, we're almost done with this blouse, is just the sleeve. And you could see the sleeve, the picture of the sleeve is just like a small puff sleeve. So that's what we are going to be doing. So in making a sleeve like this, so you are just going to determine how wide and full you actually want your balloon sleeve to be. So that is what you use to fold. So for mine, I want it to be 20 inches. That's the width, that's the volume. I want it to be 20 inches. So I folded my fabric at like 10 inches. So I have 12 inches here, which is 24 inches. So the next thing I'm going to consider is the length of the sleeve. So I'm going to use 14 inches for the length. So I've cut this out. So this is how much fabric I actually need to make this sleeve. So this is the folded end of my fabric, and then this is the length of the sleeve. So the next thing for you to determine is what you are going to use to actually mark out this sleeve is your armpit measurement. I'm going to call it armpit measurement because I really want you to understand it. That's from this point, this half part of your armpit, to this other end. So that is what we are going to use. So for mine, it's actually 10 inches. From this point to this point, it's actually 10 inches. But if you notice the sleeve, because it is an off-shoulder sleeve, it actually has some pleats on top of it. Since it's a balloon off-shoulder sleeve, it has some balloons. So we're going to add that into consideration also. So I'm supposed to mark 5 inches because from here to this point is 10 inches. You divide into 2, which is 5. So I'm actually supposed to mark 5 inches But because of the pleats that I'm going to be adding to it, I'll put that into consideration. Depends on how full I actually want it to be. So I'm going to add like 4 inches. So this 4 inches includes my allowance and then the pleats that I'm going to be pleating on top. So I'm going to go over it again for you to understand. So my normal armpit measurement, that's from here to here, it's supposed to be 5 inches. That's 10. This is it. So I am adding this 4 inch to it because I'm going to pleat the top part of the sleeve. I'm going to pleat it on this top part. So that's why I added it to it. So from this point, now this is where I'm going to draw out my arm hole measurement. So from this point now, I'm just going to take my dress like this. That's the dress. And then you are going to determine where do you actually want to start stitching the shoulder from. Do you want to start stitching it from this point or from here? So I'm just going to take it like this. Mine, I actually want it to be here. I want this chest part, I want it to be like this. So let it start from this point. So I'm just going to take like this, and then I'm going to place it like this. So you see what I have. I'm just going to tilt it towards this point like this. So, and then I'm just going to use my chalk to just mark out the exact shape of what I have here. So this is the exact shape. So you see what I have now. So this is the shape. So I'm just going to cut it out like this. So that is how simple and easy this kind of sleeve is. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and puff this point like this. That's I'm going to pleat this point. It's a normal balloon sleeve. So I'm going to hold this side with my rubber or whatever you want to use, you could use. And then I'm going to pleat, since I want 5 inches from this point, I'm going to pleat this sleeve. And when I pleat, it's going to remain 5 inches. So I'm going to show you as I do it on my machine. And then before we connect it to it. So to start stitching the sleeve, what I'm going to do, I'm going to, from the armhole point, that's this armhole slant, I'm going to measure out . So you measure to check if you still have it, to check for your 5 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to split this down part of the sleeve together. So I'm just going to do that now. I'm left with this opening now. So this is where I'm going to be fixing. That's from this point to this point. That's where I'm going to be fixing on my sleeve, on my blouse. So I'm going to fix it like this. So this is going to be the shoulder point. So I'm just going to do that and come back and show you. Okay guys, so you could see, so finish it. So at the end of the day, so I just used this feathers just to make tiny designs on it. So for the sleeve, I decided not to add elastic to my own sleeve, so I just pleated it and straight like that. So you could decide to add elastic to yours, whatever. So you could see it guys. So we're literally done with this video. So if you find it helpful, please do not hesitate to like it and then share with your friends. If you're having any questions, so just drop your question down on the comment section. So thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you.